All right, let's see. Let's call it to order. This is a public hearing. We are the Putnam County Planning Commission. We are a designated local planning agency for the county as prescribed in Chapter 163 of Florida statutes, and we function under the authority of Article 11 and 12 of the Putnam County Land Development Code. The primary responsibility of the commission is to serve as an advisory board, hear and make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on matters related to provisions of and proposed amendments to the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan, Putnam County Land Development Code. The members of this board will review each application and make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners at their next regularly scheduled meeting, May 26, 2026. Procedurally, we will call each case by name and number. A member of the staff will give a brief explanation or briefly explain to us the nature of each request. We will then take any comments from the applicant or their representative, followed by any public comments concerning the request. Please direct all comments or statements to the board and not to other people in the audience. Before speaking, we will ask each person to be recognized, come forward to the lectern, and identify his or herself by name and address. After all persons wishing to speak have been heard, we will entertain a motion from the board. The motion will be voted on by the board members and become our recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners will make the final determination regarding the application. All applicants have the right to withdraw their request at any time during the application process. I see none being withdrawn, so there we go. All right, thanks for the note card. And let's see today, in regards to any of the cases today, has there been any ex parte communications? Anybody? Nope. How about any conflicts of interest? None. Okay. All right. Well, we will get right to the first case, case number LDC 26000001.
All right. Good afternoon, Planning Commission. For the record, Ethan Thompson presenting LDC 26-000001. This is an application by Zachary Ford requesting an amendment to the text of the Putnam County Land Development Code, Chapter 45, Article 12, Division 8, Section 45-1036, requirements for Type 3 subdivisions. These are family subdivisions. Some background, there are 5 classifications of subdivisions or alterations of land in Putnam County. We've got the Type 1, Type 2, the subject Type 3 family subdivisions, boundary line adjustments, and lot splits. Land Development Code Section 45-1036 provides standards for the Type 3 family subdivision. Currently, an agricultural future land use designation and agricultural zoning designation are required for a parcel to be eligible to apply for a Type 3. And Type 3 family subdivisions must meet density or provide a qualifying residential density exception for immediate family members. The applicant is requesting that the requirement for parcels subject to Type 3 subdivisions to have an agriculture future land use designation be removed from Section 45-1036. Currently, Section 45-1036 requires, as I said, parcels to have ag designations. The applicant is requesting that the A future land use be removed. The ag zoning requirement will remain, as will the rest of the requirements and regulations that pertain to a Type 3 family subdivision. Staff believes that the requested amendment will not substantially increase residential development such that it would cause urban sprawl. Type 3 subdivisions are often accompanied by family density exceptions, which allow parcels to exceed the future land use density requirement and be subdivided down based on the minimum lot size requirement, in this case of the ag zoning district. And parcels will still be required to have agricultural zoning to qualify for a Type 3. So that 1 acre lot size minimum will still apply if the amendment is adopted. Aside from agriculture and rural residential, under certain conditions, there are no future land designations that have more restrictive density than that 1 acre ag zoning minimum lot size. Therefore, if this amendment is adopted, the Type 3 subdivision would not be able to create residential developments that are more dense than what is already allowed, regardless of future land use designation. Also worth mentioning, the family density exception can be applied to parcels in the agriculture, conservation, and rural residential future land use categories. that allow residential development to exceed the agriculture future land use density requirement. That would allow residential development to exceed the applicable future land use categories, while the type 3 subdivision is only accessible for parcels in the A future land use category. The objective of the family density exception is to provide a home site to immediate family members of property owners, and staff believes that removing the agriculture future land use requirement is in line with the goals of that family density exception and further the comprehensive plan. And then aside from Zach Ford's application, staff is also proposing an amendment to Land Development Code section 45-1036-5, adding a line that would allow applicants to apply for an administrative variance to reduce the required minimum easement width of 66 feet. Staff has included two versions of the proposed amendments. If either this commission or the Board of County Commissioners don't want to stray from, aren't interested in adopting staff's proposed changes, they just want to stick to what Zachary Ford is applying for. Staff's additions also include some grammatical corrections to section 45-1036 and section 45-1033. The first supplied version of the underlined strike-through documents is both of the amendments, and then the second supplied is the applicant's submittal. I believe it might be the other way around. And then I won't go through this. You guys have that copy. Highlighted, so some of the grammatical corrections are probably things that got skipped when we uploaded it to CitizenServe. Can't verify that, don't know that for sure. Some corrections that we added on top of this application. And then the inclusion of that minimum, the administrative variance process to the minimum easement width. But the primary application is there at the top where we are striking through designated agriculture in the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan. And then some more grammatical corrections to section 45-1033. Staff recommends approval of the proposed amendments to the Land Development Code as the request is consistent with the Florida statutes and consistent with the intent of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and the goals, objectives, and policies therein and of the Land Development Code. Are there any questions for staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have a few questions. Ethan, on one of your first slides, you talked about there were 5 different types of subdivisions, 5 classifications of divisions and alterations of land. And this may be a little bit different, but on page 1 of 2 under section 45-1033, it's showing 6 kinds of subdivisions. Not that it changes anything, I'm just trying to make sure I have a good grasp on what I'm looking at. I think what's happening on your slide here, you're missing a type 4 subdivision.
I think so.
Okay, so that would take it to 6. So, okay,
yeah,
that reconciles.
6 types.
That reconciles with me. Few more questions real quick. Once again, under section 45-1036, under item 4, it says an individual is eligible to receive a parcel through the type 3 family subdivision one time. Okay, jump down to Article 7 or Section 7, it says the type 3 subdivision may utilize no more than twice by any property owner on property that meets the above criteria. There may be 2 different things, but I wanted to make sure, because one section says only one time, the other section says 2 times.
Mr. Chair, if I may address that question, please.
Go ahead.
So, yes, sir, to answer that question, the intent was that you can only give one parcel to a specific family member. And then if, for larger families, if, let's say, granddad wants to do a subdivision for all of his grandchildren, and he names all of them John, Jake, Jack, they all get their lot. Well, then, you know, Brody is born and Sarah are born 10 years later. Then they can do the type 3 family subdivision again the second time to give Brody and Sarah their lots as well. But they could not give John, Jake, or Jack a second lot in that family subdivision. So you can only receive one lot but the property owner, the parent parcel owner, can process a type 3 family subdivision twice in the lifetime of that property to give land to multiple different family members.
Okay, all right. Few more questions. Out of curiosity, section 8, it says the sale of any parcel created by a type 3 subdivision is prohibited for 5 years from the date the parcel was created if the parcel remains vacant. So the family can't sell it to another family member within that 5-year period, or is it someone outside the family?
It would be outside of the family, so that was a safeguard to prevent, like large companies from buying up, splitting the lands, and then selling them independently. But Section 8B allows for conveyance within other family members prior to that 5-year law.
Okay, all right. Which leads me to the final question I think I have here. Under that section, so the type 3 subdivision gets approved, they start doing things, parcels are divvied up, and they build a single-family dwelling, they can immediately sell that dwelling within the 5-year period?
That's correct. If the parcel has been developed with a single-family home, then the family could sell it outside of the family members to any other normal constituent.
Okay. I was just thinking that maybe a little more clarity should be added if you're going through this to spell that out, because it wasn't that clear to me. Having the conversation is very clear, but reading this, it was a little ambiguous. So just didn't know if you wanted to add some clarity to some of this language so it was easier to understand. For example, under 8 that you mentioned earlier, so special conditions could permit the sale of the parcel if. So parcel, okay, is that a developed parcel or undeveloped parcel? The developed parcel would be constructed the single-family dwelling versus it being vacant. So just further defining the parcel, is it a developed parcel, which would mean it includes a single-family dwelling? Or is it an undeveloped parcel that you would have criteria A through E to meet and address?
So at this point, that's where it would kind of become, I guess at the request of the board here, would you guys like to see like an item F that stated something along the lines of, the parcel can be conveyed outside of the family if it's developed with a single-family home? I mean, that's where we're looking for y'all's kind of feedback on exactly what you'd want to see us present to the BOCC.
But you're saying if a single-family dwelling is built on year 1, it could be sold year 2 if it's chosen? Okay,
That seems counterproductive to what we're trying to do with that.
because it's a family subdivision.
So,
That,
so, if I,
yeah, go ahead.
if I do this, and I tell this board that or the planning or reviewers, I theoretically have 10 kids, I build 10 houses, I sell them, I've just created a 10 lot subdivision. Did I build any roads?
It depends on the scope
I
of the
didn't have
subdivision.
to.
Right.
I'm seeing a,
Loophole is what
Yeah.
you're seeing. You're seeing the loophole.
so I can buy a minimum 10 acre lot, call it mine, split it up, 10 acres. We had a PD like this that I still don't agree with. But I could buy the 10 acres, I could build 10 homes, and in the next year I could sell them. And I'd have a
As long as the
10 unit subdivision with no infrastructure, no connections, no anything.
Sure, yeah, no, I definitely understand the concerns from the planning commission. If I may, too, the application requires a notarized affidavit for the property owner to identify who is receiving the property and what their familial relation is. So that does go on record. But you're right, I mean, if the family is all in agreement and says, yeah, go ahead and put my name on it and I'll build the house and I'll convey it, it's then becomes a familial, y'all have to trust each other in order to work that loophole out. To be completely transparent, when it was in 2024, the prior code required families to have owned the property for 10 years before they would be eligible for the family subdivision. But we were receiving a lot of requests from people in the community that, you know, they moved here, they bought their 20 acres, you know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They've invested in the community, and they wanted to do the family subdivision, but they were roadblocked. So it was the request of our BOCC at that time, figure out a way to make it to where, you know, the new landowners can also be eligible for the family subdivision. And the 5-year sunset after the approval of the subdivision is where we landed.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the 5-year plan. My issue would arise from exactly that. Do we have, say, 5 kids and you split up 5 pieces, but the understanding is we're just gonna put it in 5 kids' names and build houses on it and sell it a year? I think there needs to be something that doesn't allow that path, because that's counterproductive to what I feel like the intent of this type subdivision is. I mean, this type subdivision is meant to give families priority and ease of use in family property, not to have a workaround to a subdivision. So if there's some language we could put in there.
So, Mr. Chairman, you like the 5 years?
I like the 5 years regard, I mean, there's the few exceptions they've got outlined here are acceptable reasons for that 5 years to be voided. But those are extreme circumstances. What we're talking about for putting it in the kids' names and building a house and then selling it is not an extreme circumstance, in my opinion.
So it'd be my recommendation then that this commission perhaps tells us what language they would like to see struck. So I'm guessing based off of this conversation, you would want to get rid of "if the parcel remains vacant," and then any other language which is reflective of, you know, that current rule, which is if the home is built, then it can be conveyed outside of the family. And then we would just present that to the BOCC as essentially a third option. We would then have the applicant's request, staff's suggested edits, and then planning commission edits. And we would give them the option of which of these 3 do you want to move forward with?
Yeah, on page 2 of 2, the very top line, it says if the parcel is developed with a single-family dwelling and certificate of occupancy has been issued to the individual, name of the type 3 subdivision application, no prohibition for its sale would be required. Like that whole line needs to be struck, in my opinion.
Okay, so
That's-
I guess at this point, we just want to get some agreeance by the commission with the specific language that you would like to see struck from the current code. So if you could just let me know into the record what you want to see struck,
Okay,
I'll make notes, and then we can make sure that the planning commission
Okay.
is on board with that.
so for me, this will be, it's on page 2 of 2, so it'll be 45, 1036, number 8. In the paragraph before section A, it says, if the parcel is developed with single-family dwelling and certificate of occupancy has been issued to the individual named on the type 3 subdivision application, no prohibition for its sale would be required. I would like that entire sentence struck.
Okay? And then keeping consistent with this discussion on 45-1036, parenthesis 8, it states, the sale of any parcel created by a type 3 subdivision is prohibited for 5 years from the date the parcel was created if the parcel remains vacant. Do you want to strike if the parcel remains vacant?
Yes, strike if the parcel remains vacant.
Okay. I've got the notes on that. I'll make sure Ethan gets it. So we're kind of going a little out of order. Do you guys have a preference on the applicant's application versus staff's recommendations?
The one question I had on the applicant's application was, do we have any history on why it was originally written to have an agricultural future land use? What was the reasoning behind that, or the intent behind that section?
There is not. The planning commission recording So 2015 is when the type 3 was adopted. I don't have anything from the planning commission meeting. The board meeting is on YouTube. The first board meeting, they don't talk about the why for ag. They spent, most of their concern was sprawl connected to infrastructure, putting in small lots with no road access, inadequate road access, and then the county has to take that in later. But as far as why it was ag, that never came up.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of the, like, the disregarding the future land use for that, for the family subdivision. I don't have a problem with that. So as far as the applicant's thing, I don't see an issue with that.
So I have a question. We have other ways to do this. So what I'm trying to do is keep in compliance with the future land use and the.
I think your mic might be off, Mr. Williams. I think your mic is off, Mr. Williams.
So, I'm just looking at the comp plan, and I think we're really veering off of that. And I think we're kind of going about this a little bit backwards. So, if I'm correct, we could rezone or revise the future land use map to an ag or a conservation or a rural resident, I can't say that word. And we've demonstrated that we don't mind going that way in some other things that we've done, or they can do a PUD. So there's future land use amendments and there's PUDs that are available right now to get the same thing, correct? I mean, they could change their future land use to an ag?
That's correct. I mean, any applicant, in theory, can make an application to amend the future land use designation and/or the zoning. More often than not, what the trouble that we're presented with is that the property may be zoned agriculture, but it's located in a rural residential, well, that's
Urban
not a
reserve.
terrible example, a rural residential future land use designation, and then everything around it is rural residential future land use. So staff acknowledges that if we were to try to present an application to the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners to lower the intensity from rural residential to ag, we would then be spot zoning a parcel in the center of a rural residential node in the county.
And I think in the grand scheme of things, all we're really doing is saying, instead of just ag, everything else that has the ability to have residential inside, as far as future land use designation. We're not saying because we are getting rid of the requirement of future land use as ag, that doesn't mean we are authorizing this to go in, say, a future land use commercial or industrial section. That's gonna get cut out because of the requirements of
But
the use.
Right, and I understand that, but for this
All
board,
all we're doing is relaxing the rule from ag future land use to ag and the other future land uses that allow residential use.
I understand, but for this board, I just want to clarify, this will become an administrative approval, correct? So anything de facto then, that, I'm not saying the applicant here today, I'm just saying someone comes in, I've got 10 acres, I want 10 lots, I call it a family subdivision, de facto I slide around, and I get to basically build a subdivision even under lesser, where I may have had to rezone, or I may have had to have come for a future land use amendment, or I may have to do something, I can just take the flag of family type 3 subdivision. I've got 10 lots with, again, my concern, no infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the short answer to that question is yes. The type 3 family subdivision is already administrative, so we're already seeing increased density in ag areas that does not go through a board
Right.
review process.
I understand that, but, by the way, I'm all for this, because this is the first thing I'm gonna do as soon as it's approved. No, I'm all for having places and having more property rights. I am. What I'm struggling with is seeing what's happening in other places, and
Where's the language about the future land use requirement?
it's in the comp plan.
it.
Yeah, the comprehensive plan establishes the residential
Is it in this
density.
packet?
I don't believe so. Ethan?
Okay. that's what I'm
Which,
struggling with.
what are we looking for?
Find it in the packet.
It's,
The designation requirement in 1036 or in the comp plan?
so there's the three.
And
comp
for
plans.
what?
So I'm really more struggling with leaving the comp plan so badly right now. Again, I'm big on the process and I'm big on that kind of thing. And one of our jobs as the local planning agency, planning commission, is to try to make sure that all the code stays in compliance with the comp plan. I think I would have felt a little bit better if there would have been a comp plan amendment proposed with this as well, maybe, but I'd still have some reservations, so.
But is it not difficult, though, to presuppose what an individual's gonna do if they're gonna do a family plot? I mean, every family's different, every situation's different, and things change, so being restrictive in one way is probably good, but another way, I think the average, I'm just guessing, you know, the average family kind of thing wouldn't end up in a development, hopefully.
Well, we
But-
just won't know. I mean, like you
Yeah,
said.
no, you won't.
Yeah,
You
we
won't.
don't know. I did want to take a moment to just address Commissioner Williams' concern with the comprehensive plan. Parenthesis 2 of the code that we're discussing does provide that the subdivision shall conform to the minimum size, lot dimension requirements, and density restrictions as set forth in the comprehensive plan. So we would not be allowing for like a carte blanche, you know, increased density beyond what the comprehensive plan would allow for.
Right, but I guess my biggest reservation is the comp plan only calls out 3 future land use areas, and then we're gonna say, we're gonna make a recommendation kind of counterintuitive to what we're supposed to do to the commission to do a land development code that is not in compliance with the comp plan as written. And it's part of our duty to say, to try to keep those in line, so to speak. So again, my point, I might have been a little bit less reluctant. I'm not saying I'm against it, but if there was also a comprehensive plan amendment.
Well,
for this one.
I'm following on board with you now because I'm trying, like the background in the, staff report there, and this was in my reading before, when you guys sent it out a week ago. It says the text amendment application proposes the removal of agricultural future land use designation requirement or type 3 subdivision, blah, 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 in LDC section 45-1036. But then when we go to the red line, there's nothing regarding 45-1036 that says anything about future land use. That's my hang up here. Like I see what you're asking in the background section there, but then when you look at the supporting documentation, and it may just be me, I'm not seeing it, but I don't see anything about future land use being addressed in what was submitted as,
It's the strike through for designated agriculture in the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan. That's where we get we call them, they're called future land use. It's the future land use element of the comprehensive plan. That's why it's one and the same. We get them from the same place.
yeah, but in that first line, it says agricultural zoning. It doesn't say anything about future land. It references the zoning.
And then.
Right, and that's where the relaxation comes in is currently you have to be zoned ag and located in the agriculture future land use category. We still.
I understand what you're saying about that, but what I'm saying is what's been presented here doesn't define any of that, doesn't show any of that, doesn't change, the language that's getting changed in here doesn't say that anywhere in the support documents that came in here. Does that make sense? Am I not making any sense with that?
I don't know that I'm tracking, because all the applicant is intending to do is allow for a family subdivision in the urban reserve future land use category.
And I'm all for that. That's not my point of contention at all.
Sure.
Like, I don't care about that. I'm all for that. But what I'm saying is, how do these text amendment changes address anything about future land use?
It's in parenthesis 2 of the the text that is to remain that is current now, which states the subdivision shall conform to the minimum size, lot dimension requirements, and density restrictions as set forth in the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan, including family density exception if applicable, and the Land Development Code.
Where are you reading that from?
That's parenthesis 2 of section 45-1036.
Mr. Chair, can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, when I'm reading the comprehensive plan, okay, I can do this family density exception in agriculture, conservation, or I can't say it, residential land use classifications. But section 45-1036, even with the strike-through, only talked about ag. Now we're doing away with the ag future land use to relax it throughout other zoning districts. But the code never allowed it, never said conservation or
Well, and that's
residential.
part of the strike-through, is the code is actually more restrictive for type 3s than the family density exception. And I think we're having it's two different points. The first is that the code is more restrictive. You can only do it if it's ag, whether family density would apply or not. The other thing is that the family density exception would only apply to those 3 zoning or future land use element categories, because those are the only 3 that have a higher density or lower density than the minimum lot sizes of the zoning districts. So for example, urban reserve allows more units per acre than the ag minimum. So you wouldn't need the family, it doesn't need to be called out outside of ag, conservation, RR, because those are like 1 per 2.5, 1 per 5, 1 dwelling unit per 10 acre. So they would need a density exception to go down below those numbers. But urban reserve, I think, is 4 an acre, for more than 1 dwelling unit per acre. So now you don't need it because you're not going to go below the 1 acre of the ag zoning district. Hopefully that addresses the.
I understand the density, but I'm not sure that any of our 6 subdivisions actually comply with the comp plan, to be honest with you.
You're saying it doesn't show up in there? You're saying the type of
The type of subdivisions are not in the comp plan.
So I'm going to ask a question kind of following what Justin was asking earlier. On page 1 of your staff report, first paragraph, second sentence, it says, the LDC currently requires a parcel to have both ag zoning and an agricultural A-flume designation to be eligible for a type 3 family subdivision. Okay, so 2 requirements. There's a zoning requirement and a flume requirement.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Going over to the text amendment, 45-1036, where do you take away the flume requirement? I know you've stricken the designated agriculture in the comp plan.
I can reword the staff report, but those are one and the same. The agriculture future land use element that I reference is the agricultural designation in the comprehensive plan. It is the agricultural designated future land use element of the comprehensive plan. I'll reword that in the next staff report to be a little bit more clear.
What's the reference for in that part of the comp plan? What's the reference where it's for that the part that he just quoted? Applicant is seeking. Let's see where it says a flume designation requirement so that the parcel is zoned ag. Let's see. The line that says the LDC currently requires a parcel to have both the ag zoning and an ag flume designation to be eligible for type 3 subdivision. What where it says the LDC currently requires, what section does that requirement come out of?
That is 45-1036. That is the type 3 subdivisions may be approved in areas designated agriculture in the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan, the future land use, and have agricultural zoning when the following conditions are met.
Okay.
I
So it looks like
worded it that way because as a kind of departmentally,
Did I say
we just kind of, they're the same thing, so we just reference them we'll say one or the other. I could have been a little more clear in the staff report.
I think that, for clarification, the verbiage in the original LDC wasn't very clear delineating the flume with the comprehensive plan versus the current zoning. That, I think that's how I'm looking at it now.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So,
So so the first line, we'll just talk about the first line that you guys have red line there. Section 45-1036, requirements for type 3 subdivision. Type 3 subdivision may be approved in areas, and then you guys have stricken designated agriculture in the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and having an agricultural zoning. Are you saying that designated agriculture in the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan is the flume requirement? That's what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
You're saying that designated agriculture has only to do with flume and not any other?
That, yeah, just the comprehensive plan designation.
so Commissioner Williams, to your point, you said there was a couple of ways we could go about doing this, but you're not certain the way that's being proposed right now is the best method. You would rather see a comprehensive plan amendment versus what we're doing now?
Based on my understanding, what this commission is supposed to do, being the local agency and planning commission, we are supposed to try to keep text amendments and all this in line with the comp plan. One of my big concerns is, and has been, and it's not just with this, because this is an amendment, if you actually read this, I don't know how it complies with the comp plan, but changing it even more and reducing that even seems to me taking it further away from the stated comp plan that we have. Also, you know, when you get into agriculture and the some of the, well, yes, we'll leave it right there. I need to get my other piece together. I'm just worried that we're kind of doing code to address a problem or address something, and we're leaving the comp plan behind, which is our main stated responsibility in state statute.
Well, it's my understanding the comp plan doesn't necessarily call out a type 3 subdivision, right?
That's correct,
Like it just refers to the land development code, then the land development code.
is what identifies
Clarifies
the
that, okay.
subdivision process. And there's policies within our comprehensive plan. I mean, the entire future land use element, there's, I believe, 10 different future land use categories, and all of them have their own unique residential density and intensity regulations within them. And then in a separate policy, there's, different density exceptions that could apply, one of which being the family member density exception.
Right, but the comp plan, and two different things, because the staff is also recommending redoing the easement size. Policy A.1.4.5, the county shall require paved roads in new residential subdivisions. So if we really want to get the comp plan, that's another question I've got. So again, I go back to, I buy a piece of property, I put 10 lots on it, and I think the intent was, here's my grandson, he's of age and he needs a place to live, I'll give him a parcel. This is starting to get reworked to, I'm a real estate investor, I'm gonna have to hold this for 5 years, I can get 10 lots and not build anything. Big win for me, if you don't do it correctly. The intent was, I want my child to live on my property, it's a single split here, I can split it again, whatever. But then it goes even deeper now to, it just says an easement, not roads, but our comp plan clearly states the county shall require paved roads in new residential subdivisions. So that's another thing that I think this is trying to carve out. And again, if we're gonna do these things, I think the comp plan is the place to start, not code, then go, yeah, we don't really follow the comp plan. That's my opinion.
I'm sure it was mentioned, but what is the current flume for his area?
Urban service. Urban reserve? It's urban reserve, correction.
Urban reserve. That's,
So, what's the density for urban reserve?
12 units an acre with water and sewer, or 1 unit, 2 units per acre with private well and septic.
in the event of a type 3 subdivision, do the density requirements, are they defined by the type 3 subdivision, or are they defined by the future land use or current zoning? How do
So because we are leaving the ag zoning requirement, they would be limited to 1 unit per acre because of the dimensional requirements of the ag zoning district. So if they
So
wanted
because
to
it's
go,
required to be an ag, and we're not concerned with the future land use, it is concerned about, the density requirement then becomes defined by the agricultural zoning.
correct,
That's what you're saying, okay.
So by right, we could put 12 units per acre.
if he has water or sewer
Right.
through a plat. But no, because this gentleman's zoning is ag. So he'd be limited to 1 unit per acre because of his ag zoning designation.
Which all type 3 family subdivisions must have.
Have to have ag zoning.
They have to
That's what
have
we're-
ag zoning. What we're concerned about the flume in this, but they will still require to have the ag zoning.
Correct.
One improvement per acre.
1 unit per acre.
1 unit per acre. Yeah.
In a 5-year hold.
I'm sorry?
And a 5-year,
five-year
and a
hold.
5-year hold.
And a 5-year hold.
that can't sell.
Can you
But
pull
a,
up?
but a 10-acre subdivision, how many, I mean, up to 10, or 10-unit subdivision, that if I used his current zoning, or his current future land use, I'd have to have water, sewer, and a road. If this goes through, I can build houses.
With no roads, no,
With 66 foot
Can we see
or
a
smaller.
flume map of this area? Can you pull that up? for
Yeah, I
us?
think Ethan can get that pulled up.
Mr. Ford, what's the address for this part, for your parcel?
It's 4097 Silver Lake Drive.
but this case is all designed around family.
The type 3 is, yes, sir.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. And Mr. Sheffield, with your acknowledgement, I do just want to remind the entire planning commission that this would change the regulations for the entire county. So while the applicant is located in a sea of urban reserve, this would, be beneficial to those in urban service, rural center, rural residential land use categories as well.
Anything that the future land use allows for some sort of residential use.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got the map up.
Can you put it on our screen?
Close the PowerPoint? Okay. There. It'll be this parcel. This is it. The subject parcel is outlined. Urban
But-
reserve is all this orange here.
So all that's urban service?
Everything.
Okay, I'm
miles
sorry, I
from-
thought it was loading and
Nope,
populating.
no, sir. This is all
My
urban
apologies.
service. You're good. And then I'll pull up the zoning as well. All the light green is ag. We've got some R1 HA, some residential stuff over there.
Personally, I don't have an issue with what the applicant's trying to do, but it goes back to the process, and I'm kind of going back to what Matt's saying. If our process is driving us through the comprehensive plan, if we should make a change in that, why aren't we going that direction? I know we can go option two. We can go option two.
Well, but they're saying it's not defined in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan refers everything to the LDC to define these rules for these subdivisions. That's what I'm understanding, right? That's correct? Like, there's no specific, it doesn't talk about type 1, type 2, type 3 subdivisions. It says, the comp plan says, go to the LDC, because we define how the subdivisions work. In which case, I'm perfectly okay and don't see where it interferes with the comp plan so much, but
So where it, in my opinion, it goes to where it allows the, hang on. It's the fact that they can do this as a family subdivision without building the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And that was done so that your kids and your grandkids all could live on one piece of property
Right.
with you. But if we start,
well, but-
that's the difference, is, it's basically, and somebody correct me, this would be a totally different type subdivision in this area. But if we open it up,
well, I think the advantages are, number one, it's gonna remain at the agricultural, because all the rules in there say that after you've done this, you can't chop it up anymore. You can't use that split again. So once you've created this 1 acre lot for a family member, they're making it to where it's not gonna get chopped up even worse down the road without a lot of rezoning and redoing. I think that's one of the advantages. The other, and this is probably one of my biggest concerns is, back when I was an inspector, they used to say, you need to be an inspector, not a suspector, meaning we need to focus on helping the community out more so than restricting the community in the advent of we're preventing some person with nefarious intent of doing something and working around. So will there be people that try to use this in the future to mess it up? Probably.
Yeah.
There probably will be. May have already been. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think we need to handcuff the rest of Putnam County on what may be a few bad apples. So with the understanding that the line strike there that you guys are requesting is the only thing that requires the future land use requirement, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm good with that text amendment. Do we need to move, is there any other discussion about that? I mean, do we need to?
I'm just still struggling with it. The land use change, the future land use change, the zoning change, or a PUD would do the same thing. I'm not sure why this is the particular route we're going without changing the verbiage in the comp plan. There's other ways in our code to accomplish this same thing as stated today, but we're gonna go away from what the comp plan says we do, or we should be doing.
I guess I'm not following on what you're saying the comp plan says we can't do as far as.
Yeah, well, the only places that it's allowed in the comp plan are in conservation, RR, and agriculture. We're gonna take land development code and do away with that whole section for this one issue, right?
Mr. Chair, may I?
I'm not following that. You say that one again?
Mr. Williams is referencing the rural residential ag and the conservation future land use areas and its listings in the comprehensive plan, but those designations are listed as the future land use map designations which are eligible for a family member density exception. which is not the same as the family subdivision. The family density exception can be applied in rural residential, ag, or conservation in order to exceed the residential density that is required in that designation.
Okay, so we're only gonna use it for the density then for family, right? So it's a subdivision, but it's not this,
No,
family density, so it's a subdivision. All subdivisions require paved roads and infrastructure. Are we still enforcing that?
So those are residential subdivisions that are processed by plat. And that language is consistent in our section 43-1033, and then also 1037 through like 1041, which is the requirements for a plat, and it does stipulate that the roads must be paved in the code, in the land development code, and within the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, and a single lot split, which would be required, which would be viewed as a subdivision, they don't require you paving the road to a lot split.
It must be on a public-private street.
Well, but they've got that language in there too. That's in that's probably the next thing we need to address is that section 5 where they talk about the minimum requirements of 66 feet wide easement, which is what, even in a lot split nowadays, they require that, but I think the minimum goes down to 30, right? I mean, that would be,
So for just a standalone lot split, it's a 35-foot wide easement. 30? It's a 30-foot easement. But then any creation of 3 or more lots, you're at the 66-foot wide easement. And the only thing that staff is recommending here is just the inclusion of the language that offers an administrative variance, even though the administrative variance is already kind of allowed based off of the intent. And that's in a different section of the code where you've got your regulations for administrative variance. It basically states, and I don't have it in front of me, that you can request an administrative variance from any dimensional requirement of this code. So the 66-foot wide easement would be something that's already a person could apply for a variance for.
so why add the language then?
Just to clarify it.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Other code sections, outside of the administrative variance code section, I believe, is 45-836, and it has a list of 15 different allowed kind of things that the ADC, the Administrative Deviation Committee, can grant administrative variances for. But there are other places, specific sections in the code where it says you need outside of the code section for the ADC. So there's a dimensional requirement section that says it's got to be this foot by that foot, or you can get a variance from the ADC. So this is just kind of in line with the rest of the code, where if someone were to read the applicable code sections for what they were looking to achieve, looking to develop, it would be right there for them, instead of them having to know that there is a second separate code section to go hunt down.
Okay. The Article 9, Division 4 reference that you guys have in that new language there, does that refer to the actual easements, or is that the process for variance?
I believe that is the process for the variance.
Okay. So we're just saying go to Article 9, Division 4 to see the variance, the process to establish the variance.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what the purpose of that language is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that either.
So, Mr. Chair, hearing all of this good stuff, trying to digest it, I'm okay. I never had a concern with the applicant's request. It's just how do we get there, from my perspective. Hearing Commissioner Williams and hearing the rest of everyone, I'm okay moving forward with this. As I understand it, what's been presented to us is we have 2 versions. We have the applicant's version and we have staff's version. And what I'm seeing is the only difference in the 2 is staff had the language added for the 66-foot easement variance.
Yes, sir. There's Mr. Ford's submittal is just his strike-through, and then the staff version is the original strike-through, the easement addition, and grammatical corrections.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that,
Yeah, we need
my
to,
apologies.
Yeah, we need, yeah. All right, that, yeah, that was questions for staff. All right. Would the applicant like to say anything? You're welcome to, you don't have to.
Is this on?
Yeah, give us your name and address, please.
Zachary Ford, 124 Heightley Road.
Okay.
Okay, so basically my hopes for this is just to be able to build with my family, so that way, I can take care of them, because that's what I'm doing now. And I get the problem, with the loopholes and stuff. I'm just hoping we can work out something that doesn't, put more constraints on it and make this harder than it already is, because that's why I'm here today. So I'm just hoping that we can come to a resolution on that doesn't make it harder. But thank you guys for considering my requests.
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Yeah, you just stepped into a bigger fight than, this doesn't have anything to do with you, it's just a zero to do. We're all for what you want to do there, so we're just having to sort it out with the rules there, but. There's nobody from the public wishes to speak. We'll close that and come back to the board. Any more discussion? Entertain a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve staff's version of the proposed amendment, the staff's version of the proposed amendment, with some additional amendments to that we discussed earlier. And those changes, do I need to call those changes out, or are they already previously reflected?
for the motion, would you just reference which changes we discussed earlier, please?
Okay, so once again, we're looking at the staff proposed amendments, and we're going to strike under section 45-1036, section 8. We're going to remove the tail end of the first sentence where it goes, if the parcel remains vacant. We have stricken that. And also,
You're
the
talking about
next,
striking that whole sentence, right?
we're just striking just the tail end of that. We're gonna put a period after created, and then we're going to the next sentence, and we're gonna strike, remove that entire sentence, which basically states, this is the section we're gonna remove. If the parcel was developed with a single-family dwelling and certificate of occupancy has been issued to the individuals named on the type 3 subdivision application, no prohibition for its sale would be required. We are removing that completely. So those are the two modifications that I wrote on my notes, and I'm perfectly fine with those.
So that section would read what then?
So under section 8, it would
Paragraph
read,
2.
it would read this, it would read, the sale of any parcel created by a type 3 subdivision is prohibited for 5 years from the date the parcel was created. Prohibited for 5 years from the date. Yeah, period. Okay? And if the sale takes place on any parcel within the type 3 subdivision prior to 5 years from the date of the creation, all lots within the type 3 subdivision will be required to comply with the requirement of the type 1 subdivision within 90 days of that sale. Special circumstances could permit the sale of the parcel if, and then it labels A through E, which we're leaving those unchanged.
Okay.
And then his, did you get his?
What's that?
His, we're doing him too.
It includes that.
That include that, so the first strike at the top is him, is his case, and then the additional stuff is provided by staff. So, all right, I've got a motion that says we're gonna take the staff adjustments and the adjustments in section 8.
Second.
Motion is second. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Just on process, opposed.
What's that?
Based on the process, I'm opposed.
You're opposed, okay. So we got, one opposed. Motion passes. There we go. Congratulations. It'll move on to the, Board of County Commissioners meeting. So it's not final here, it'll be final, pin in it, but that's, our recommendation will go in positive for you. All right, that was the only case. Any old business? Nope. New business? How about approval of the minutes from the March 11th meeting?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, looks like it.
There's the revised minutes from February 11th as well, sir.
Oh, there's two things on that one. Okay, all right. How about a motion to approve or disapprove the minutes from the February 11th meeting as they are revised?
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. All right, we're all good? We're adjourned. 5:29. Sorry I was late.